Okay, I wanted to talk about one other aspect of relationships that is not overtly related to communication, but communication is very, very important in working out this aspect of your relationship. And that is what I call the regulation of autonomy and intimacy. That is just a sort of geeky way of saying that every person has a perfect comfort zone of having enough intimacy and connection with their partner and also having enough privacy, autonomy, separation as like a separate human being, separate from your partner. And no two people are perfectly matched in that regard, in the way they regulate intimacy and autonomy. There's no couple where both people are just perfectly matched, that they both want exactly the same amount of time together, of affection, of attention, of presence, of being really close, and that want exactly the same amount of time amount of alone time or amount of privacy and personal freedom in their lives. So that is an issue that every couple has to work out one way or another, because unless you are the 24/7 joined at the hip couple, that's way at that end of the scale, and very few people really can tolerate that level of closeness all the time. There's going to be some negotiation and working that out. And I find it useful to consider this on a scale of 0 to 10. And people who are at the 0 end are probably recluses who maybe are living a monastic life in a cave somewhere, that really don't want much connection with people, that they're focused on something else altogether. And at the 10 end of the scale are people that do really want that like joined at the hip couple relationship, where they spend all their time together, do everything together, don't really have a separate life at all. My experience is that if you're between a 2 and an 8, you can have a very healthy, happy relationship, as long as you pick someone who is somewhere remotely near you on that scale. They don't have to be exactly at the same number as you are. But a 2 cannot mate with an 8, because the 2 will be smothered and will be trying to escape, and the 8 will be starving and will be aggressively demanding more and more of your time and attention and wanting more closeness. So you have to be a little closer in your numbers than that. The reason I say anywhere between a 2 and an 8, you can have a pretty good relationship, because if someone's below a 2, they probably are not in an intimate partner relationship. They probably are demanding way too much privacy and personal autonomy for a lover or partner to accept. They're just not willing to compromise enough or give enough of their time and attention. And there's nothing wrong with that, with being that person. It's just not likely to work that well in an intimate relationship. And if you're above an 8, you're also not as so likely to be in a relationship, because most people would run screaming from the room if you were demanding that much of them, because you're really saying they really can't have a life outside the relationship. So someone who's at an 8, people who are at an 8, they're in a pretty merged kind of relationship. They're really spending most of their time together, really giving up a lot of other things in order to prioritize only the couple. So the reason this is a communication issue is that it's not so much being at a different number that is problematic. It's more about how you communicate about it and what you believe it means about your partner. And what I mean by that is, if you say you're a 4 and your partner's a 6, you're a 4, you want a little more space, a little more privacy, a little more time to yourself, and your partner's a 6, they really want a little more attention, and they're demanding a little more of you. If you're a 4, you're likely to think, my partner is so needy and so demanding. They are like really emotionally fucked up, excuse my language, and like there's something wrong with them, they need therapy, and they're just like demanding too much of me. Which is not true. Usually, it's just that they have more of an internal need for connection and intimacy in relationship. They just naturally desire that and feel more loved, secure, and fulfilled if they have that, more of your time and attention. The person who's at a 6 is likely to think about the person who's a 4. Well, they're afraid of intimacy. They're avoiding intimacy. There's something wrong with them. They need therapy because they're not, willing to open up in a relationship. They're just not ready for a relationship. And that's probably not true either. That person, their own internal clock just tells them, I need time alone, a little faster than yours does. Their own sort of internal compass tells them, I need a little more privacy. I need a little more freedom. I don't really want to be quite as merged with this person in a relationship. That just doesn't come naturally to me. So what's so important about communicating about the intimacy and autonomy issue is to be able to accept that your partner is not behaving the way they are, either because there's something wrong with them, or even worse, you could believe it's because they don't love you. Particularly people who are a little more mismatched, like one's a 4 and one's an 8. That person that's at the 8 is likely to think, my partner doesn't love me, that's why they don't want to spend more time with me. If only they loved me more, or if only they were more committed to this relationship, they would want to spend more time with me. They would want to really join our lives together more than we do. And it usually has absolutely nothing to do with how much they love you or how committed they are to the relationship. Again, it's about their own internal set of needs around having a sense of themselves as a separate human being and not feeling overwhelmed or smothered by the relationship. So as I was mentioning about the 5 love languages, I often do a similar exercise with couples and ask them to guess where they are on the scale and to guess where their partner is on the scale, and then to share that with each other. And most of the time, people guess wrong. The person who's lower on the scale usually guesses the higher number person at a much higher number than they really are, because the situation has gotten polarized, and vice versa. The person who's, say, at a 6, they'll say the other person's at a 2 when really they're a 3 or 4. It just feels so much more polarized when you either feel like you're not getting as much as you want, or when you feel like too many demands are being made on you to give more than you really can without losing your sense of yourself as a separate person. So communicating about that is really important, and not making assumptions about what your partner's behavior means, rather just trying to find out from them what it does actually mean in real life rather than what you think it means. So that you have that on the sheet that says the 5 love languages. At the bottom of that page you have the little printout of the intimacy autonomy scale, and I would encourage you to work on that with your partner and see where you can get with that. So